Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of September 29th to October 5th, 2024, where I take a look at a couple stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts about them, though. And we have 4 stories to cover, including supposedly Microsoft doing an outreach with Xbox to figure out why some games are skipping the platform and everything like that. We also learned about the whole situation surrounding Star Wars Outlaw and that how it may have not been great for Ubisoft in every single way. We also learning about Blizzard that may have had at one point supposedly a series canceled on Netflix that was supposed to be based off of Overwatch and even Diablo and StarCraft and everything like that, and which is very unfortunate what happened with that, though. And some interesting controversy surrounding the upcoming Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake in terms of some of the comments made by some of the developers on the characters showing less skin. However, there was an update to this story where apparently they've come out saying that it was mistranslated or something like that. If you're interested in where I got the source of these information, though, links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And if there's any part of this video you wish to skip to, again, timestamps will be in the description of this video, or it will be at the beginning of this video if you want to see exactly which part you would like to skip to. But before we get started, I would like to do what I have to call the quick My 2 Cent, stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details and everything like that. The first one has to do with one of the developers who were working on, Bloodstained 2 or on the Bloodstained series has basically stepped down after being diagnosed with cancer and all, which, I mean, it sucks that he is stepping down, but being this is sort of a health issue, though, it's pretty clear this was probably the right decision to do and everything like that. Hopefully this is a treatable cancer, and hopefully this individual can get well soon, but still, very unfortunate and sad that he had sort of stepped down and everything like that. Nintendo is basically celebrating the developer Monolith is now 25 years old. These are the same folks that developed the I enjoyed the Xenoblade Chronicles series, but they have also helped out with Nintendo on other games, including, I believe, some of the Zelda games like Skyward Swords and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, to I think also helping out with Splatoon as well. So really neat to see that studio doing very well. Very curious to see what their next game may be, though. I certainly would be open to another entry into the Xenoblade Chronicles series, although I would prefer a remake or a remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles X or a sequel to that one, or a new IP depending on what they decide to do. But either way, Monolith Soft is 25 years old, so happy birthday to Monolith Soft and everything. We also saw that Nintendo and supposedly the San Diego Zoo are teaming up to do sort of this event and inviting explorers to basically look for Pikmin that are basically scattered all over the place and everything at the San Diego Zoo and all. So it's an interesting idea. Obviously, it's sort of a unique idea to be exact, though. So, I mean, if you're in the San Diego area, it's probably something to consider if that's something you or the family or kids might be into or something like that. We also saw a behind the scenes for the upcoming Metal Slug Tactics, though. This one, I'm still looking forward to trying this game out. Supposedly, it's supposed to be out before the end of the year, but time will tell if that happens or anything like that. But in either case, I am looking forward to trying that game out. In case you're curious if that's about the sound, that's, the gardeners working out there and everything like that. We also learned that there is some exclusive look from Insider Gaming on why basically Assassin's Creed Shadow got delayed and everything like that. It seems there have been some major problems with Ubisoft and everything like that, and that's really not so great for them and everything like that. We'll see if they could turn their self around and all. Continuing on with Ubisoft, though, it seems to be that there is a possibility that the company may be going private, as there are reports coming out of possibly the head of the people in charge of Ubisoft might be selling their shares of the company and all. Supposedly, we've been hearing Tencent might consider buying Ubisoft. Nothing's official at this time, but it's clear, given the direction that they have been going, ranging from their stocks to a lot of their games not doing as well as they hoped for, like Star Wars Outlaw to Prince of Persia, Prince of Persia. I think the Forgotten Crown. I believe that's the name though. Though getting great reviews, supposedly did not sell as well as they had hoped for. So we'll see what happens with Ubisoft and see if they go private or whether they where they sell or anything like that, or whether a company like say Tencent buys them or not though. We also learned that the director of the Mario plus Rabbids Studios has launched his new studio, including one of the folks I think who helped out in the Red Dead Redemption game. Supposedly they are working on an original IP, and they've been bought by, I believe, the same folks, I think the firm from South Korea that purchased Tango Gameworks and got Hi-Fi Rush back and everything like that though. It's nice to see this person, you know, working on some games. I did enjoy Mario plus Rabbids, both the first and second one. Shame it's most unlikely we'll get a third one or anything like that, but here's hoping to see what this new original IP is, and here's hoping we'll see basically supposedly, hopefully it will come to Nintendo's platform. We also learned that Nintendo has shut down another emulator group, though, reportedly, and this had to do with supposedly the emulator was leaking out the Legend of Zelda Echo of Wisdoms out there, and it's one of the main reasons why Nintendo went after this group to shut down, you know, the emulation and everything like that. I will say when it comes to emulation, I'm very, very mixed on it though. I do think there are some arguments in favor of it in terms of with game preservation and all, but I can also see some of the criticism as we saw what happened when supposedly Kotaku ran an article about how you can emulate the upcoming Metroid Dread back then. That got Nintendo pretty pissed off and sort of supposedly blacklisted Kotaku. That's sort of the claim and all. So I'm very mixed on emulations to it. There are some positives to it, but I can also see some of the negatives to a certain degree. And last but not least, it was supposed to learning next week, coming to the Switch Online service will be 2 FX games. I think both of them were Game Boy Advance ones. One I think is F-Zero GP Legends, which was sort of the game based around the short-lived F-Zero GP Legends cartoon. I think that was like a Saturday morning cartoon or something like that, to one that was only released in Japan and never saw the light of day here in the US until now, which is F-Zero Climax, which certainly nice to see F-Zero is getting some love and everything like that. I do hope that it does get Nintendo's attention in a way that perhaps maybe F-Zero GX gets a remaster or a remake maybe on the Switch or Switch 2, or maybe convince them to consider maybe there is still a market for a brand new F-Zero game and everything like that. I mean, hell, if Pikmin can get all the way up to Pikmin 4 and that do very well, I think F-Zero has a good shot and everything like that. And finally, in the movie and TV show of The Quick My 2 Cents, we are learning that supposedly that we might see more Easter eggs in the upcoming, Super Mario Brothers 2 or whatever they decide to call it and all. I am very curious to see what more Easter eggs we could see in the sequel to the Super Mario Bros. Movie. We know at the very least, based off the ending to the movie or the end credit scene, that it does seem to indicate Yoshi will play a part in it though. What we don't know is whether or not who will be the main villain and all. There have been rumors about the possibility of Wario or Waluigi. There's been some speculation that Daisy or Rosalia could make an appearance in the sequel. So remains to be seen at this time, outside of maybe most likely Yoshi playing a part in some role. But in either case though, I am looking forward to seeing the sequel, and I am kind of curious to see what kind of Easter eggs they'll put in that movie and all. We also learned about basically, Beetlejuice still doing very well at the box office and all though, and looks like it will be aiming for a release date, at least I think for streaming and all. Still, I'm glad to see that movie do very well. It was a long-awaited sequel. I'm hoping for a third one. I hope they really do a third one. I would like for them to call it Beetlejuice. That would be really great if they call it that though. We also learned that basically the movie Rust will make its premiere, I think, at a film festival, but not with but people who won't be there will be like Alec Baldwin. For those who are not familiar, that Russ, there was a bit of a controversy and legal issues that emerged after supposedly a person who was working on set died over basically being shot, which was supposed to be like one of those like one of those props or anything, something like that. And Alec Baldwin got caught in a whole lot of, let's just say, the whole situation and everything like that. So obviously the film is going to premiere, but without Alec Baldwin being at the premiere and everything like that. And finally, The Hollywood Reporter ran an article about the ratings for Star Wars being run by Disney, as whether or not Disney is doing them bad or anything like that. I would say not necessarily bad, but there are some questionable choices though. I do think that in terms of Disney running Star Wars, I think there has been some success and misfires though. I think Mandalorian did very well, Obi-Wan Kenobi I really liked, Andor I did enjoy and everything like that. Asuka I thought was alright as well, and so was the Book of Boba Fett. So I do think there have been some success, but I also think there has been some failures with the allocate, and also I do think they need to review and re-examine some of their approaches. I think some are working and some aren't though. There's also brought up the whole question about woke, DEI, and all that stuff, and honestly, I have a hard time buying that card, people who play that card, because to me, it's gotten to the point where those who play the woke card on a daily basis, in my view, that's just as bad as those who play the race card in situations that aren't racist. So I am extremely cautious about those who play the DEI and the woke card and all. And while I understand there are some fans who are passionate about the series, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, I do think there are those, not everybody, but those who do take it way too serious, even when some make death threat to the person in charge who's running Lucasfilms and all. I think that's where I have to draw the line, and I think that goes way too far. So I do think that, I don't think Disney is destroying Star Wars, but I do think Disney may have to rethink some of their approaches in regards of the Star Wars IP and all. Okay, with the Quick My 2 Cent part now done, along with the movie and TV show part of my Quick My 2 Cent, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Dragon Quest III, the upcoming HD 2D remake, and supposedly a interview, and basically an interview that happened that has led to some questions in regards of censorship and everything like that. Now, one of the things I do know is that in some cultures, though, things like nudity and sex are not as huge of a deal how it is maybe here in the US to a certain degree. We also have basically a rating system and everything like that, and my position has always been that as long as the game stays within the rating system, if that's the kind of game a developer wants to make, let them make that type of game and everything like that though. And there has been an example is that Nintendo has done some good and bad on this though. On one hand, they've been more open in allowing developers to bring their games over to the system, design it however you want to as long as you stay within the ESRB rating system. But on the other hand, at the same time, there has been some criticism over some of the decisions Nintendo made. One example is the game Tokyo Mirage section, where there was some heavy criticism both on the Switch and the Wii U version of those games. When the Wii U version came out, though, there were criticisms ranging from some of the costumes being changed a bit, though, to at least fit for the Western audience. Not everyone was pleased with that, to the fact that there was a DLC that never saw the light of day here in the West and everything like that. This wouldn't be the only controversy, though. We saw this with Xenoblade Chronicles X, where one of the characters wore a different outfit and everything like that, and some folks weren't happy. To basically, when the game was coming to the Switch, it was later learned that it was based on the Western version, and that did not go over well with everyone, including some Japanese audience, to the point that Nintendo had to apologize for this and saying that they should have been more upfront about it, basically saying that they would be offering a refund for those who pre-ordered the game. And what was interesting is that the original Wii U version basically shot up on the top of like Amazon's list in Japan and everything like that. So there's been some criticisms about, alternating or changing certain things to fit, certain cultures here and there. And supposedly there was a controversy surrounding Dragon Quest III HD 2D, which basically had some costumes basically change, and some of the developers originally chimed in with an update in which basically supposedly they had to either backtrack or claim that it was mistranslated and everything. So first off, in an article from Niche Gamer in terms of basically titled "Dragon Quest creator isn't happy with censorship in Dragon Quest Remake." This is what This is what the article had to say. Quote: "A new interview at Tokyo Game Show 2024 has revealed the Dragon Quest creator isn't happy with the censorship in Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, among other changes made to the remake. The interview was held with both former Shonen Jump editor-in-chief, who also had a big role in the creation of the Dragon Quest series, and Dragon Quest creator, talking up about the game with Japanese outlet Famano Game." I apologize if I'm saying that name correctly. "When the topic of custom censorship was brought up, both were very unhappy with the change." This is what they had to say. Quote: "There are so many restrictions for exposed skins. When the censorship was brought up, the interviewer, a woman, replied saying, 'It's fictional. I think it's fine that you just go into the story and become the main character.' Both the interview and one of the developers then questioned why the original costume was a concern. The interviewer said it's fictional. It's a fictional experience. So long as it's enjoyable, it's fine." The Dragon Quest creator followed by noting, "If there's more exposure, the age rating has to go up. That means we can't sell it for all ages." Another male interviewer noticed rules vary by countries when trying to sell globally. "The issue of compliance comes up with strict regulations, to which the other female interviewer said, 'We never thought about this in the past.' They also replied with, 'Compliance is like an all-powerful god. It's something that us using the name of good, but it's actually bad. It's impossible for every single person doesn't feel uncomfortable. It's fine to feel uncomfortable. Beautiful and ugly, good and evil, it depends on that person. It's fine as long as you don't do what you're not allowed to do. In Western countries, there's a root in thinking based on religion, and it's influenced their sex education, right? Their attitude, compliance is really narrow-minded." They also talk about in terms of selling manga in the West. It says, quote, "When selling manga in the West and America in the West, everything had to be categorized by age group. With Shonen Jump, they couldn't be sold unless they were rated age 13 and older because there's a risk of a lawsuit and they need to have insurance. Doing business with a ridiculous country like this is such a hassle. Coming from Japan, Japan gets negative influence as well and all." Later in the interview, the controversy changed to removing gender language for the remake was brought up, in which the game removed male and female pronouns and replaced them with appearance A and appearance B instead. And so basically, it brought up a lot of things, though, in terms of this interview. Well, after that interview was aired, apparently the folks who took part in the interview came back and at the very least started to claim that they were mistranslated, and some of them also pointed the finger at the head of X, Elon Musk, though. So in an article from Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, Dragon Quest creator and former Shonen Jump editor, co-host of the radio show Kosh HOS, KYOKU, has addressed the recent controversy surrounding comments made by the pair on a talk show appearance during Tokyo Game Show 2024. According to the statement, the pair comment, which focused on frustration over change to add more modest clothing to the original character design of one of the folks who created the Dragon Ball Z series for the upcoming Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, which both were mistranslated and sensationalized by overseas media outlets. The conversation, the clip that appeared on social media, was translated by Valid News. Although the original post has been deleted, the statement posted to X called out Elon Musk's retweet of the original clip as a factor in this assuring controversy, though. The rebuttal specifically references mistranslation of Puritan and as sex education in the following line, translated by Valet and contributed by the creator, saying, quote, there is a religious concept from the West, especially in America, that influenced their approach to sex education, right? Both of these folks criticize outlets and users of social media for extracting comments made in contents of a much larger show in which the radio hosts were guests, which they point out, which has since been removed from YouTube, criticizing them for arbitrary clipping videos that are different from the original contents and messaging the entire video and all. And they have sort of the list of what they actually pointed out and everything like that. So some of it is basically, some are calling out that a lot of folks, especially Elon Musk. Then again, Elon Musk is known to put out misleading information many times before in the past. So this, I would say, is a very tricky kind of a situation and everything like that. Though, for me, I'm a believer in the rating system. I do believe that as long as the rating system's there, if the developer wants to make the game however they want to make, whether it's gory, bloody, or how much, or have nudity in it, that's their decision, as long as that game stays within the rating system, regardless of what it may be and everything like that. Do I think some cultures may take it a little too far and maybe should be maybe a little bit more open in terms of certain things? Maybe. I don't completely disagree with that and everything like that, but I mean, at the same time, it does show that there is a challenge for some of these developers if they want to sell their games overseas. It sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes their content does need to be altered to a certain extent. But I do admit there are times when it can go maybe a little bit overboard here and there. Tokyo Mirage Session is one example. So regardless of whether this was mistranslated or not, it does open up a debate about, trying to alternate things just to appeal to like a certain country and everything like that. So it can be tricky in my view. So overall, I still am a believer in the rating system and everything like that, though. But I also am a firm believer at the same time that the people who are creating this should be able to stay true to what they want to create and everything like that, though. Again, this is a very tricky type of a situation and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with Blizzard and supposedly something that they were working with Netflix on, which unfortunately doesn't sound like it's going to see the light of day and everything like that. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Blizzard and Netflix at supposedly what we could have seen, basically a show or something from them from using any of Blizzard's IP and properties and everything like that. Now, in terms of video game adaptations or doing shows or movies based off of video games, though, I will say the situation or the quality certainly has gotten better compared to the last couple of decades and everything like that. Yes, there have been some like Borderlands bombing at the box office and everything like that, closely claiming how bad that was. And there have been some shows that have gotten mixed response, like the Halo show and everything like that. And of course, we've seen successes as well with, The Last of Us, basically the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the 2 Sonic the Hedgehog movies, though, including the spin-off Knuckles, to even Netflix, which also has its share of hit and miss. As I mentioned, Dragon Dogma has one that got mixed response, and the Resident Evil one supposedly didn't do as well as they had hoped for. But they've also had success with, the Castlevania series, Witcher, Cyberpunk, Edge Runner, and all. And so they've had their share of successes and everything like that, which is certainly really neat, and it shows that the quality certainly has gotten better. Well, apparently it seems that, at least according to Jason Schreier, there were original plans for the idea of Netflix to do some shows based off of some of their IPs, ranging from Overwatch to even StarCraft and everything like that. And this all comes from an upcoming book that Jason Schreier is supposedly going to promote and all. In an article from IGN, it reads that supposedly in a Reddit AMA to promote his book, Play Nice, The Rise and Fall and Future of Blizzard Entertainment, Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier revealed that all 3 Blizzard franchises were due to Netflix adaptation treatment, but then Blizzard sued Netflix for approaching the company then chief financial officer. In early 2019, former Blizzard CFO Spencer Newman, if I'm saying the name correctly, was fired after breaching his contract to become CFO of Netflix. It seemed the dispute was at the heart at the end of those Netflix adaptation. Blizzard fans are now expressing their disappointment of what might have been, particularly for Overwatch, which seems tailor-made for an animated spin-off. Indeed, the hero shooter had a number of impressive animated shorts already that fleshed out its iconic character's backstory. Imagine that being on a bigger scale for Netflix. There's then StarCraft, whose cutscenes and promos are some of the best in the business. A StarCraft adaptation might have been truly special. One Blizzard franchise considered constant by the absent from Jason Schreier's list is Warcraft, which had an ill-fated CGI-heavy movie of its own back in 2016. The movie, while at one point the highest-grossing video game film of all time, did not enjoy enough success to spawn a sequel. Other revelations from Play Nice, The Rise and Fall and Future Blizzard Entertainment included yet another StarCraft shooter being in development, and that Blizzard staff unsuccessfully pitched Warcraft 4 and even a Call of Duty real-time strategy game, which that would have been interesting if they did a real-time strategy game with the Call of Duty franchise and all. So I will say, after reading this and seeing some supposedly claims of some clips or something like that, or at least some still images or anything like that, though, I think that really sucks in a way, because it would have been nice to see some of this featured and everything like that, though. I mean, I do think in terms of video game adaptations, I think Netflix has done a pretty good job and all. I mean, like I said, I do enjoy the Castlevania ones. I think those ones, I think that one was good. Same with Cyberpunk Edge Runner and all, though. So it would have been nice to actually, would have been nice to see these basically happen, though. And so it's a really shame that this lawsuit kind of ended it and everything like that. I'm hoping at the very least that maybe, just maybe, although this could be a long shot, with Microsoft now owning Activision Blizzard, maybe this could open the door to maybe revising some of those ideas and everything like that. Again, we don't know if that will happen or anything like that. It may or may not happen at all, but I do hope that maybe they could open the door for that possibility. So time will ultimately tell if something like that will ever happen or not, but I will admit it does kind of suck that we're not getting basically any type of, adaptation that I think that some of us out there, or particularly those who are Overwatch fans, would have liked to have seen, though. So overall, very disappointed that Blizzard or Activision Blizzard had some issues with Netflix and led to this lawsuit to unfortunately have some of their shows based off their IPs not see the light of day. I'm hoping maybe now with Bobby Kotick gone, some of the leadership now gone, with Microsoft now owning Activision Blizzard, I'm hoping this might change some things and maybe try to repair the situation and see if there's a way forward in terms of having this happen again. Maybe try to revive the Netflix show or something like that. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, kind of sucks to be exact, though. And also, I'm very curious to see what's in this Jason Schreier book and everything like that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with Star Wars Outlaw and supposedly how well, in terms of how this game sold and everything like that. And supposedly, depending on how you look at it, though, it's supposedly not good and everything like that. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at the situation surrounding Star Wars Outlaw, and supposedly how much the game, or at least how many units were sold in regards of Star Wars Outlaw. Bear in mind, this is basically on the physical. We don't know anything about, at least, or at very least at this time, the digital side and everything like that. Let's just say for 2024 has not been so great for Ubisoft and all, and there has been some questions about basically some of the decisions Ubisoft has made. I mentioned some of the stuff that we've been hearing going on in the Quick My 2 Cent and everything like that. We also learned about what happened with Assassin's Creed Shadow, that has got delayed and everything, and some of that they point to Star Wars Outlaw. Well, now that we're learning about basically some of the sales numbers, and based on that, depending on how you want to look at it though, it doesn't sound like it's good or anything like that. In a article from Insider Gaming, it basically reads that, quote, Insider Gaming hasn't been able to learn what the expected sales figure was for Star Wars Outlawed, but we have secured a current sales figures from a source close to the game. At the time of writing, Star Wars Outlaw has just ticked over 1 million sales worldwide. To put that in perspective, we reported in January 2024 that 3 months after Assassin's Creed Mirage had hit the market, it had secured 5 million sales. In early trailers and demos, Star Wars Outlaw impressed gamers excited to explore a vast open world environment and a new character following an original story. As time wore on, the sentiment around the game wavered somewhat, and gameplay videos released close to the launch of the game failed to fill consumers with a sense of anticipation. Apologize, I'm not saying that name clearly though. On social content and streaming platform, the buzz around Star Wars Outlaw dried up pretty quickly, and all that was left was a string of clips posted to social media showing the game poor stealth sequences and bugs. This is the kind of thing that Ubisoft moved to patch up not long after launch, but the damage was done. In 30 days on the market, Star Wars Outlaws has sold just 1 million copies. It's not expected that it will shift many more and anything like that. So it, again, worth pointing out, it doesn't sound like they're pointing out any digital sales or anything like that. So I am kind of curious to see what the digital sales of the game is, but assuming what Insider Game is saying is correct, that's, I would say, not really that great, especially for an IP like Star Wars. And some of that will be based off of what expectations Ubisoft set, but it clearly indicates, I think the flop of Star Wars Outlaw clearly indicates that there is seriously something wrong with Ubisoft, and I think a lot of their decision making, or a lot of some of the decision making they have done, seem to have finally caught up for them and everything like that. And I think it's really a shame, because the idea of exploring a original story in the Star Wars universe sounded like a good idea, but given Ubisoft, I mean, they've kind of pushed their luck of making almost every game open world to, their push for DRM and everything like that. And then, of course, we've seen them push, for the so-called quadruple A with Skull and Bones, and we've also how that played out and everything. And, well, it's just really unfortunate, because Ubisoft can make good games, but we've seen there have been questions about some of their decision making before. So it is really unfortunate if this number is correct, that it sold that much. And it's going to be interesting to see what Ubisoft does, especially for 2025, especially with Assassin's Creed Shadow. So maybe Ubisoft will turn things around in 2025, but who knows? Obviously, right now, them at the moment, this is not in a good position that they're in. And with Star Wars Outlaw not performing well and Assassin's Creed Shadow being delayed, let's just say 2024 has not been great for Ubisoft in general. So overall, assuming these numbers are correct, that's not really good. Although some of that will depend on what expectation Ubisoft set, and something tells me there's a good chance they were setting up high expectations and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with supposedly Microsoft trying to figure out why there are some developers skipping Xbox altogether and everything like that. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My Two Cent video, and for this one, we're going to be taking a look at what apparently Microsoft might be changing some of their approach in terms of trying to figure out why some games are skipping the Xbox platform. Now, the Xbox platform, I will admit, has been sort of in a very, I would say, odd place, to be exact, though. There have been some success with the Xbox Series X and S, and has done well on some areas, but Microsoft has also made some decisions, particularly some might argue questionable decisions, to be exact, for the platform. And some areas we've also seen is that there have been some games that have unfortunately not shown up, or basically, some developers have openly complained about, though. Some examples are Marvel Fighting Collection, which was absent from the original announcement for the Xbox and everything like that, and that raised some questions what was going on. Capcom, when they claimed that some of it had to do with, like, they were having issues trying to bring the game over their MT framework or something like that, but supposedly games coming over, Microsoft is helping out and everything like that. But it's clear that this issue has certainly caught Microsoft's attention, and obviously they don't want this to be coming out in public and all, so it does seem to indicate that they are changing some of their strategies, at least in terms of figuring out why some games are missing on the platform and all. In an article from Pure Xbox, it reads that, quote, "We have seen a few stories this year about disgruntled developers who have struggled to bring their games to Xbox, as well as titles that have been skipping the platform, and it looks like Microsoft is taking steps to reclarify or recertify this for the future. Today, the company has expanded its Xbox Research Initiative, which aims to listen to developers to garner feedback about how future tools and service could be implemented, though. The program is somewhat as follow. The objective is to listen to the development partners in the Xbox ecosystems and partners with product teams to bring forward insight and data that could help improve future tools and services. By directly engage with game creators, Xbox aims to get the data that will help address the pain points and enhance the experience of partners across the spectrum of discipline involved in bringing games to market. Xbox's new research initiative is an attempt towards a forward-thinking approach to support game creators. By turning their attention to the people behind the games, the research team aims to foster an environment where developers of all sizes and backgrounds can thrive, ultimately leading to a better experience for players worldwide." A lengthy explanation about this is on the Microsoft website, talking about how player experience has always been a key focus on the Xbox Research Initiative, but actually collecting feedback from developers have been less formal. The idea, obviously, is to gather and implement the data from these developers as effectively as possible, and it's intended to affect everything from large studios to small independent developers. Interestingly, Team Xbox wants feedback from those who aren't currently shipping their games on Xbox as well, allowing for a fresh perspective in the process. Ultimately, it sounds like Microsoft has heard the noise from some of these disgruntled developers in 2024, and is taking very important steps to avoid repeat in 2025 and beyond. So clearly, this is one of the issues Microsoft has been dealing with the Xbox Series X and S in general, and assuming what they're saying is true and all, it does sound like they're trying to clarify this, though, and hopefully, I'm hoping this will lead to maybe more games, or some of the games that have been passed on the Xbox system. Hopefully this means that they'll bring them over to the system as well. It's clear Microsoft definitely had some issues. I mean, we saw what happened with stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 and the whole console purity situation, or parity, I'm saying the wrong word. Console parity situation that ultimately led them to drop the couch co-op mode for the Xbox Series S to bring the game over to the Xbox systems and all. Obviously, I mentioned the Marvel Fighting Collection situation. So clearly, it does seem to aim that they don't want this to be blown out in public again and everything like that. So hopefully, if this is true, 2025 things will be a lot different and all. I mean, we saw Microsoft made some misfires ranging from being completely hands-off in terms of like what we saw with the Redfall debacle and how that played out. Obviously, that forced them to change some of their approach. Hopefully, this does lead to maybe seeing more developers support the system and everything like that. I mean, I like the Xbox Series S. I think it's a good system, but I do question some of the decisions Microsoft has made. And hopefully this will lead to a better approach, especially when their next generation system comes out, whether it's their next console, to the rumors of them working on, a handheld and everything. So I'm hoping this will lead to less of we're not bringing our game to Xbox and everything like that. So overall, assuming what we're hearing is correct, hopefully this is a step in the right direction and it leads to bringing more of these games over to the Xbox system and all, and maybe towards Game Pass to a certain degree. Okay, this concludes my my 2 cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about some of the controversy surrounding Dragon Quest III HD 2D and everything like that? Do you think some of the controversy had some weight behind it, though? Or do you think some of it is being blown way out of proportion? What are your thoughts about with Blizzard and Netflix and supposedly Netflix working on some shows based off of Blizzard IP being canceled because of this lawsuit? Do you think this is very unfortunate news, to be exact? Do you think Netflix could have done a good job with these shows, though? Do you think with Microsoft now owning Activision Blizzard, do you think there's some hope these shows could be revived in any way? What are your thoughts about the report about the possibility of Star Wars Outlaw selling basically around 1 million copies sold worldwide? Do you think these are abysmal numbers and everything like that? Do you think digital sales may have helped bait up for this in any way? Do you think that it raises questions about the Star Wars IP? Or do you think it raises questions about Ubisoft itself and everything? And what are your thoughts about this new approach on Xbox trying to figure out why some developers are skipping their platform? Do you think this is the right decision for Xbox to do, to try to figure this out and everything like that, though? Do you think this could help bring more games over to the Xbox system and everything? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!